Hey everyone, what I'm going to show you how to do today is really cool. You're going to use WeVideo to make your own virtual studio that will be used on news. Now, what I mean by a virtual studio is it's going to be like the set for news. You're just going to use two layers for that. Okay, and your base layer is going to be the studio itself, which you're going to find through stock footage, and then you are going to pop a window in there with something seasonal. Now, I have some examples here. So your target is to achieve something that kind of looks like this. As you can see, these are pretty much the same studios, but there's two different variations. And this was done through colorization. Here we've got a nice wintry looking like icy blue theme. And then over here on the right, we have a more like auburn orange fall theme. Now in WeVideo, this actually animates, and this is actual moving snow. So it looks like snow falling outside of a window. Disregard the fact that that's pink there. Doesn't matter. It just happened through the colorization. And then over here, this is a standalone image of our school, which is dropped into that place. Again, all done through layering effects in WeVideo. So let's jump into WeVideo and I'll show you how to do that. Is how to use WeVideo to make a virtual news studio. And this studio is going to be something that we use on Junior Falcon News, and you can determine what season you're going to use it for or what month's theme. As you can see here, the one that I'm going to show you that I just made is a wintry January background that's going to be good to use throughout the month of January, maybe even early February. So just to show you here an example of some other studio backgrounds that we have used in the past. These are some screenshots from throughout the past few years. So that was a fall background. That was a February background. As you can see with the February background, they colorized that pink and they added snow because we do get snow around that time of year. Here we've got another really nice animated January background. Another good one for really any time of the winter. And yet another, a really nice fall background. We've got the fall colors going on there. Let's jump into mine so you guys can see how I put this together. So first of all, as you can see here, all it is two layers. Yeah, there's another layer over here. That was just my other option that I was using as I edited this, just to determine which one I liked best. So if we look at the base layer, which is video one, the base layer looks like this. It's a globe. And while the globe looks cool and everything, it really could have more of like a seasonal theme to it, which is why we enter a winter theme on top of that. So the first thing that I did earlier is I searched my stock media and I typed in virtual studio, and I made sure that I searched for just animated videos. There's all kinds of different ones here. This is one that you could use for an option if you want to. If you use this one though, you might want to replace that globe with something that's going to look like a window pretty much, because in the green room, what we'll be doing is we'll be adding the news desk, we'll be adding the announcement screen. All you're doing is two layers, your base and then a picture on top of it. Now, if you choose something like this, this is where you get into a studio that really doesn't work because you can't just put something here because it's at an angle, okay? If we were to put a picture or another video on top of that, it would be squared and it wouldn't really work because the studio is at an angle. Same thing with what you're seeing over here in the corner. So again, this is why it's going to take you some time to really look through all these and find something that works. And as you keep scrolling through, as you keep going down, you're going to be finding more and more. Like that one's okay. I don't know. I'm not really a fan of the chandelier. I kind of want this to look like a studio. This one would be great. I'm actually going to use that for my next example. So I'm going to take that, drag it down to become my base layer. Okay, I'm playing that with my space bar. Now I'm going to show you how to do is to find an image to put over here and then crop it down, because whatever image you find probably isn't going to fit until you scale the size down. So I'm going to go back up to my stock media and I'm going to make this a winter background. So I'm going to type in snow scene and just search for videos and see what comes up. Now here's the thing. If you do something like that, something like this, while it's a really cool image, it doesn't really make sense to have it here because you want this to kind of look like a window, and your room is not flying over a mountain. Your room is stationary, meaning it's standing still. So you're going to want to get a background that is standing still. Something like that wouldn't work because again, that would be like your your room is going panoramic. So this is where it's going to take you a little bit of time to scroll through all of these and find the perfect image that's going to work. It took me a while to find what I just showed you at the beginning of this video for an example. It took a lot of scrolling through. It even took me switching up what I actually searched for. I think I typed in winter scene, and that's how I found something that I liked. This is cool right here. I actually think that was used in one of the examples. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to drag it down here. And then I actually want to trim that down so that way they start and end at the same time, because you don't want your window scene or like your seasonal background to be on screen any shorter or any longer than the base image itself. So now that we have that on there, what we want to do is go in and double click on it so that we can scale it down in size. So to scale it down in size, you're over here under transform, you do this. And as you can see, when you do this, it still leaves that edging on there a little bit. So what I'm going to do is actually make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to use the crop feature. So the crop feature might be something that you have not used yet in WeVideo. And I'll show you how easy it is to use. So I have it. It's bigger than that blue space that's there because I'm going to go to crop next, and then I'm going to take it and drag it down a little bit and then drag it up a little bit. When you hit save changes, you'll see what it looks like. As you can see, I cut off a little bit too much. So I want to double click and then bring it up just a little bit more. And there you go. That actually looks pretty good there. Okay. And then you can see it animates. Here's the thing though. This base image is a little bit on the purple side. If we want this to go with like a nice icy blue theme, we can colorize it. So what I'm going to do is actually get rid of all of these other layers here because we don't need them. I'm going to take these two and select them, drag them back to the very beginning. Okay, now I'm going to go in and do my colorizing. So to colorize it, if you double click on it and you go over to this option here, this is your color option. Hue will change the shade of it, change that color. So you can play around with that a little bit. You can change the temperature. Temperature makes it either warm or cool. Obviously, you want something to go a little bit cooler if you're working with your winter themes. If you're doing something for fall, you might want it to go a little bit more on the warmer tone. Tint kind of changes that a little bit too. You just play around with this until you find something you like. Saturation is cool, but you don't want to oversaturate something because then it looks really too cartoony and just not good at all. So I might actually leave the saturation alone. Okay, so you can colorize both. You can colorize both your base and your actual like window scene. So I'm going to double click on that and colorize that a little bit. I'm going to change that hue, make it a little bit more icy blue. Again, cool off the temperature a little bit with that too. Okay, I'm kind of liking it around here. It's a bit of a difference. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the beginning. So I drag my timeline marker over to the left. I play it. There it is. Okay. So now, if this looks good and everything, and they both end at the same exact time, you're ready to export this. So you would just finish it, give it a name, Virtual Studio. I'm going to call this Winter. Always make it HD. Always drop it in your drive, export it, then you're done. So all you need for this is 2 layers. The hardest thing is just finding the 2 layers that you want to use. Again, you pick the season that you're working with, you pick the scene, but just make sure that it looks clean and neat. Don't go adding in a desk or even our logo or anything like that, because that's going to happen in the green room. You're just doing your 2 layers. So you don't just have to stick with stock media either. Like for your Windows scene, you could take a picture that is in Google's shared drive of the school, and I'll show you a really neat example. So as I was scrolling through here, I found this one, which really popped out for me for fall colors. I mean, we could really change it and colorize it to anything, but since it was already orange, I thought we'll use fall. So I'm going to just drop that down here. Actually going to delete those. Okay, drop it down here, and then I'm going to go to my media. And as you can see in my media, I went on shared drive and found these pictures that some students took these actually this year. And I thought these would be great for a fall background. So I'm going to drag that on top. I'm going to extend the length of that picture so that it meets the end of the length of the news background. I'm going to double click it now. And then I'm going to go to transform and scale it down. And when I start to scale it down, you can see it's not exact because we're still going to have to go in and crop it. Now, one thing that you might notice, and I noticed it on mine, but I played around with this, you're seeing all these weird lines on there. Those weird lines will not be there when you export your video. I don't know why they are there now, but I promise you they will go away when you export this in HD. Okay, so that's extending down to the floor. So what we want to do is crop that like this, and we'll see what it looks like now. Play it. That looks really nice. I know it's not a moving picture in here, but that's totally okay. Over here, just leave that green there, because what we're going to do in the green room is drop the news announcements on that space. So it's okay if that's there. There's also one here. At least I thought there was one. Maybe I didn't import it. There are some videos out there on Google Share Drive as well, but just be careful that if you use one of those, you're not getting one of the moving panoramic ones. You want to get one that's standing still. What I might do on these virtual days, I might go out and get some videos and pictures of the school in addition to what's there, drop them in there for you guys to use for this project. But it's totally up to you, either a picture of the school or stock footage. It's your project. You do what you want with it. Also remember, when you're doing this, you don't want a scene that is moving like this, where it looks like it has a panoramic view or a moving view like that. You want to have something that is standing still. Like, that would be a good one. Even though it's nighttime, it would still work. This one would work here also. And when you are back in your virtual studios, you don't want to use something like this, because there's really nothing to do. This screen here is where like the Junior Falcon News announcements would go. So there's really not any like window scene that you could use. Even there's more like at an angle. So you really can't do anything with that. Again, it takes some time to go through these. The more you scroll through, the more options that will come up. The first thing you use might not be the first thing that you stick with or what you end up sticking with. Just spend some time exploring and finding something that you really like that will look good and realistic for this. Okay, I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. If you have any questions as you work on this, please let me know.